Hello, fellow fools, and welcome to your timeless pick a pile reading. My name is Bren. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm going to be guiding you through this very magical card reading experience today. Now, if you are, a returning person, welcome back. And if you're new here, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. And the way that this works is we are centering this reading around the Sagittarius full moon that's happening at the time of this recording. However, it is a timeless reading. So even if it's not a full moon Sagittarius when you're watching this, that's totally okay. You came here for a reason, so there must be messages in this reading meant for you. So don't be discouraged if you feel like, you know. Anyway, I overthink these things sometimes and I'm like, do I need to just re-record it? But you know what? We're just going to go with it. It's okay. Not everything needs to be perfect. And maybe that's part of the lunation today too, is that perfection is always elusive. So we don't always need to attain that. It's okay. So anyway, the way that this works is we're going to start with talking a little bit about the astrology of this lunation. So we're going to be talking about this full moon. And then from there, we're going to do a little collective reading, some messages that all of us could benefit from. And then from there, you actually get to choose a pile and you get to kind of choose your own adventure kind of energy, where whatever pile you're attracted to will offer you additional, maybe more specific insights for you. Alrighty, so without further ado, let's start with the astrology of this full moon. This full moon is in Sagittarius. Who doesn't love a Sagittarius? Very boisterous energy, charismatic in a lot of ways. They can be known as the party animal of the zodiac, and they're known as like the adventurers because, we think about Sagittarius, we think about the centaur with a bow and arrow. The Sagittarius pulls back the arrow, releases, and then goes after what they aim for. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, the planet of expansion and good luck in a lot of ways. It's not always good luck. There's a lot of nuance with Jupiter, but generally it is a favorable planet. It's considered a benefic, which is a good luck planet or a more favorable, we tend to really like the benefits that this planet gives us generally. So Jupiter ruling Sagittarius gives Sagittarius a little extra boost of luck, a little boost of, they're probably, depending on the chart, of course, but generally they're more likely to maybe win lotteries or have like favorable outcomes, even in dire circumstances or things like that, just because they have that planet Jupiter on their side, kind of offering them a little boost of good luck with their endeavors. So the mantra of this lunation is look at the bigger picture. Now, we all have this little extra boost of good luck in a way, I do feel, with this lunation because of that Jupiter influence. But I also love the ideas that Sagittarius has to bring to the table because, they're all about the bigger picture. The details don't matter as much. It's just like, well, if it gets done, it gets done. They can be visionaries. They do, again, they're travelers and things like this. So the day-to-day little things, they don't matter as much to Sagittarius as maybe a mercurial sign like Gemini or Virgo. Now, we have to talk about Virgo, or excuse me, not Virgo. I mean, love you, Virgos, but we don't have to talk about you right now unless there's something going on here that I'm unfamiliar with. The only thing in Virgo right now is the South Node, which maybe we'll touch on in just a moment. But I will say that you can't talk about a Sagittarius full moon without also talking about Gemini, because Gemini right now, it's the reason why we can even be having a Sagittarius full moon, because the sun has to be in Gemini in order to illuminate the Sagittarius moon. So there is a sense of, they're sibling signs. They have a lot of similarities. I think they both really love to gather information, and they are more social in nature, in my experience. Not everyone's the same. Again, this is just general. So don't be like, well, I'm a Sagittarius and I don't feel like I'm social at all. It's like, there's more nuance than that. So don't worry. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means there's more nuance. So anyway. And I'm feeling a little spicy today. That's very Sagittarius too, which is very interesting. So going back to Gemini, this is a very Gemini thing too, where it's like, well, let's talk about this, this, and this. Gemini is all about collecting information. And they're very curious. They are known as the twins. So that's their like little zodiac, energy icon. And so when there's two people within one person, it can often seem like that person might be two-faced, or, you know, they might say one thing one moment, but then say the exact opposite thing another moment and be very genuine. And so something to understand about Gemini is that they are not necessarily malicious in that. It's just that they can try on a bunch of different hats in order to convey, you know, or they try on different hats because they know that there is nuance in things, and just because one thing is true doesn't mean something else is not true. You know, two opposing truths can actually be true. That's something that Gemini can investigate and is very curious about. So I do have this card here. This is talking a little bit about Gemini, and I just wanted to read it to you all so we know a little bit about the Gemini energy. So it says, Geminis are the chatty social butterflies of the zodiac. Represented by the twins and ruled by the planet Mercury, this sign is all about fun, communication, and conversation. They are amazing friends and tell the most captivating and hilarious stories. Geminis are playful, affectionate, and curious, but they also can be thoughtful and serious thanks to their dual nature. So Gemini is that mutable, one of the mutable signs. It's mutable air, which means like air is all about the thoughts and communication, socializing, ideas, things like that. So being mutable means that you can change your mind all the time or go with the flow. You know, Geminis know, and you know, Sagittarius is also a mutable sign, but this is mutable fire. So Gemini can kind of go, they're mutable in the sense of ideas and communication, things like that. Sagittarius is more fiery. It's more flexible in like, well, where is my impulse taking me? Like maybe I was drawn to buy a ticket to Paris, but then last minute I switched my ticket to Tokyo because I just knew that's where I needed to go. You know, they're going with what the energy of the moment is asking them to do. It has a more fiery intuition in that way, and also creative and life-giving energy. So they do go hand in hand in really great ways because, again, they both are curious, they seek information, yet also, fire and air go really well together, because without air, fire can't live. And, fire gives excitement to the air. It's like Sagittarius energy and fire energy in general definitely gives a lot of people something to talk about, which Gemini likes to do. So going back to this specific lunation, this full moon, it exacts on May 31st, 2026 is the year of this recording, and then at 2:45 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So it's going to be really nice, at least where I live, if we're going to be up at 2:45 a.m., we can look at the moon and it'll be in its full glory, full illumination, full beauty, which will be really lovely. Excuse me. So there's a few things that I want to talk about with this lunation. The nodes came up originally, so I do want to mention that just because we're talking briefly about Virgo. Virgo is another mutable sign, so that's another sign about like going this way, that way, just a little bit more flexible. But Virgo is Earth, so it's a little bit more grounded in its and practical in its mutability. And so the South Node is in Virgo right now, and it's about to leave very soon. So what is the South Node? It's basically one of the points of the moon that, and it shifts every like year and a half-ish, and it just gives us like the South Node. There's a lot of different theories about it, and so it depends on who you ask. But how I'm seeing it, at least for this moment in time, is like what we're getting rid of and how to release old burdens, old ways of doing things, maybe old obligations, that will make way for us to trust the universe a little bit more and lean more into the North Node, which is in Pisces. Pisces is the last mutable sign. We have, 4 mutable signs total, 1 for each element. And so Pisces is the mutable sign of water. And so what Pisces is offering us with that North Node there is like, how can we gain trust in the universe at large? How can we trust that we don't need to control everything in order for us to fall into place where we're supposed to be? So I do feel like that might be brought up a lot with this full moon, because the I guess the general message that came through to me for this lunation is expand and question your beliefs and narratives. So I do see, you know, when there's a full moon, there's an illumination of some kind, an illumination of the darkness. And so I do see maybe some clarity coming in for us, especially on an emotional level, where we're like, oh, I was feeling this kind of way about this situation, but now that I see things a little more clearly, there's some truths that I was either ignoring or I didn't take into consideration. And now I feel differently about this because I see things differently. And Sagittarius is all about expanding the mind. It's about, you know, the Sagittarian likes to travel, so it gains new experiences and has more wisdom under its belt to guide its life more, just with more, curiosity, but they're just giving me keywords right now, and it's like expansion, like, yeah, obviously, but like that's not what I'm getting at. But anyway, sometimes this is a perfect example of how I just have to surrender to the messages coming through me and the way that it's coming through. I've actually experienced this recently in my readings this last weekend, that like I was getting frustrated in a way, because I'm like, Spirit, are you sure you want me to say that? Like, that's not the way I would say it. But the humbling of this career and this job is that sometimes you have to just let Spirit say what it needs to say, because just because I have my bias and it might mean something to me and I might want to convey something in a certain kind of way, also to make myself look a certain way. But Spirit's telling me you have to say it in this way to that person because that's the way you get through to them. Also, this is not about you. This is about you doing a service for someone to get closer to Spirit. So, you know, I do see us just really expanding and questioning our beliefs and our narratives. Like, oh, just because this was true in the past doesn't mean that it's true for us now. And this year, last year, even 2020, like all of these time periods have been portals of like brand new eras of life. And so we are birthing new ways of doing things. We're birthing literal new humanity and like things like lifestyles and things like that. Like life is just so different from where it was before. So we can't stay in those same paradigms. We can't stay in those same places that we were in the past, because it's a brand new life. It's not just like a new chapter of a book. It's a whole new book. So maybe even a whole new series. We'll have to see. But you know, this is just a really good time to have a lot of conversations as well, because again, we still are in Gemini season. It is the Gemini sun that is illuminating the moon in Sagittarius. So, you know, this lunation is going to be illuminated through our conversations, through that Gemini energy of, oh, well, what if I put on this hat? Like, let's play devil's advocate, you know, just to explore and to get curious about things. So also, we do have a bunch of energy in Gemini at the time of this lunation. We do have, of course, the sun there, but we also have Uranus, the planet of sudden change and things like that. It only recently entered Gemini, and it'll be there for like 7-8 years. And then we also have Mercury, the planet of communication. It's in domicile in Gemini, meaning that Mercury rules Gemini, so it's at home there. So now's a great time, and they're not all close together. As you can see here, this is all the Gemini energy that we're experiencing now, and they're not really all close together necessarily, but they're all in what's called an in-sign conjunction. So they're not on top of each other, but they're all in the same room. So it's, I love personally when Gemini, I love you, Geminis. Yes, of course I love you. But I love when Mercury and Uranus are paired together, because it's like Uranus is considered the higher octave of Mercury. Mercury being all about like the mind, communication, thought processing, all that stuff. If Uranus is the higher octave of that. It's like bigger thought patterns. It's like the collective thoughts. It's genius. It's also flashes of insight and things like that. So when we're met by expanding our basic consciousness with our bigger consciousness and maybe global consciousness, universal consciousness, it really does elevate the way that we think about things and the way that we can discern the environment around us. And with the sun also there, it's illuminating all that stuff. And especially because they're not so close to the sun, it's like we can actually still see and feel those planets without the sun overwhelming them either. So I do see this as a very illuminating time for us in regards to what information are we really gaining that is true. Are our friends telling us the truth, not out of maliciousness necessarily, but where are they getting their information? You know, are we just getting fed AI BS? You know, like this is the time to really get curious. There was this teacher who was talking about how she actually uses AI in order to educate her students because she knows that her students are going to be using AI regardless. So let's use it as a tool for self-empowerment and self-expansion rather than letting this technology think for us. And so the way that she does that with her students, she'll ask the AI to like write an essay about something. And then the student's responsibility is to review that essay and parse out what is true and what might be false. Because a lot of the times what AI collects is not true. You know, it can be, you know, who knows where all of that's coming from. So, you know, now's your time to kind of put yourself in that practice and be like, you know, not that you have to be distrustful or suspicious of everything, like that's exhausting, but really get curious, like, oh, I'm feeling triggered by this thing. Is it because of what I think it is, or is it because of something else? You know, do I even have all the information? Feeling a lot of swords energy if you're familiar with tarot. So like the 8 of Swords, like not seeing all the information or even keeping yourself from the truth of things. Because sometimes we want to believe something so badly that we ignore red flags or we ignore the truth of things just because we want a certain reality so badly that anything that goes against that, we just ignore or we choose to sweep under the rug. So don't be victim of that. Yes. Is there anything else I want to talk about in regards to this lunation? I could talk about actually a lot of things, but I do want to just talk to, I don't know why I'm being called to bring this up, but I'm just gonna. We also have 2 planets in Cancer right now. We have Venus and Jupiter. And, oh, that makes sense, obviously, because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. Of course, Spirit would want me to talk about where Jupiter is right now during this lunation. And so both Venus and Jupiter are the benefics, which means they're good luck planets. They usually offer a little bit more sweetness in our life. And so when they're really closely paired together at this time, it does, I mean, they're not super closely, I mean, they're like 10 degrees apart, give or take. So they're not like super close, but again, it's that in-sign conjunction where they are working together, and there's a story building here where Venus is approaching Jupiter being like, hey, I have all these goodies to bring you in regards to relationships and money, and also being in the sign of Cancer, nurturing and mothering even, or, you know, like caring. And when their conjunction's approaching, so this is also a time I feel like to be really appreciative for what are we building like in our communities that feels nurturing, like in our home lives as well, like wherever Cancer is in your specific chart, even if you don't have placements there, you do have Cancer somewhere in your chart, the zodiac sign. So, you know, what house is it in and what themes does that house talk about, because that's where all of these blessings and beauty is coming from. So if we're prepared while we, you know, await that like final meet when they're actually together, the more that we can actually benefit from their energies. And just a reminder too that Jupiter is an expansive energy, so it will expand things. So when it meets with Venus, the planet of money, good luck, relationships, things like that, it's going to expand things in that realm. So if you're feeling not good about relationships or not good about money and things like that, you know, this is a time to try to get to the root of your insecurities or the root of those wounds or whatever, because Jupiter will expand those feelings when they meet in just a few weeks. So, it's better for you to expand good feelings than, you know, not so good feelings. So I do feel like this illumination, this lunation, I should say, is offering us just like a little preview too about like, and a little glimpse of like, hey, we're being illuminated right now. What narratives do we need to get rid of or whatever? So by the time we experience this beautiful meeting of energies, we're ready to receive it, because it's kind of like that energy of, say you're so insecure, you don't feel worthy or whatever. So then when that conjunction happens, maybe you get an offer, or maybe someone gives you a really big gift or whatever. But if you don't feel worthy of it, you can't even receive the blessings there. So now's the time to prepare to receive, okay? Because you deserve it, okay? And, you know, just know that blessings are on their way. And it's up to you to, first of all, recognize it, because also blessings don't always come in very obvious forms of like, because it's also a water sign that we're experiencing this in, Cancer specifically. So it's not going to be necessarily tangible, like here's a bunch of money, although it could, you know, who knows. But it's just more maybe emotional in nature, like, wow, I feel really supported, or I feel really nurtured. So just really pay attention to the way that you're feeling, and like through these conversations as well, and that's going to offer you a lot of blessings moving forward. Okay, so those are the messages that I have for everyone for the lunation in general. Now we're going to move on to the collective reading portion, which I was so surprised that took that took longer than usual, which is totally fine. We're getting tuned in, but please allow me to introduce you to the decks that we're working with today. The first deck we're working with is the Chakra Insight Oracle deck. I have been so into chakras. I mean, always, but not always actually, because they really intimidated me actually when I first started learning. My aunt tried to teach me for a really long time, but I was like, it's so intimidating, I don't understand. But then I got more into this work and I was like, actually, it makes perfect sense. So anyway, if chakras don't make sense to you, don't worry. It either doesn't have to, or maybe down the line it will make sense. But anyway, this Chakra Insight Oracle is by Karen Sangster. This is actually one of my first times using this deck. I've gone through it, of course, but it is a newer deck, and actually it's not even that shuffled, because it has all of the chakras actually organized. So I'm going to actually keep it that way. Why not? The other deck we're going to be working with today is the Aleister Crowley Thoth Tarot deck. Oh, and that's interesting too, because the Chariot is what's on the back, and the Chariot is the card that symbolizes Cancer. So going back to that Cancer energy that we were talking about earlier, that could be important. So anyway, this deck, it's a newer deck as well. So I'm really excited to break them in with you today. And, you know, I don't know if you know anything about Aleister Crowley, but there's a lot of history of how he influenced spirituality that we know it in the Western hemisphere. And so, or the Western country, whatever, in the West, whatever. So if you wanted to look more into his work, you can. I mean, I don't know how I feel about him, honestly, because just because he was influential doesn't mean I necessarily agree with everything that he did. I know there's like I don't know a lot about him either. I don't, you know. But anyway, if you want to look into him, there's definitely gems to be gained from that, because I do believe that he was really into the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, and that is really symbolic for a lot of tarot things. So makes sense. Anyway, if you want to look into Kabbalah, this might be your sign to look into it. So we're going to start with the chakra. Ooh, but also I'm getting called to actually do this differently. Okay, we're going to just kind of pull from here. This is the one that I feel like we are needing right now, and it is all about relationships. It's number 9, and it's talking about intimacy, freedom, acceptance, and trust. And in the imagery here, it's like of either 2 people holding hands, or 1 person holding hands with themselves, or reaching in that way. It's really beautiful. Relationships. And this looks like it's probably gonna be, what chakra is that? That's the sacral chakra. So that's your reproductive organs. The color is orange, and it's interesting too, because I did pick 2 very fiery crystals for today. It is a fiery full moon after all, but this orange calcite is here with us with that orange energy. So there's something about these lower chakras that are really helping us through this lunation, something to pay attention to. And yes, we're talking about our reproductive organs when we're talking about the sacral chakra, but remember that like
our reproductive organs not only are capable of creating like life, but it's not just like a baby of life. It can also be, that's where our creative energies go. That's how we create art. That's how we dance. That's how we, create the life that we desire. So with this talking about relationships, it's really interesting, like what we were talking about before in the overview of the lunation, is that conversations can't happen without a relationship of some kind. Even if you are talking to an AI, you have a relationship with that AI. Does that AI have a relationship with you? That's to be discovered. I don't know. Probably not. But who am I to say? I don't know. This lunation is all about exploring and keeping an open mind as well. So I do see a lot of liberation coming in some of your relationships, whether that's liberating yourself from a relationship or just finding new truths within that relationship. This past weekend, I was celebrating a birthday with my friends, and we all had some hard conversations about money because we wanted to spoil the birthday person, but also the birthday person felt uncomfortable with that. And so it sparked a conversation with all of us where we had to be like, how can we make this work so we can have a healthy relationship and liberate ourselves also from that lack of feeling like we can receive or give, and also not feeling like just because we receive something that we owe something, or that we need to pay for people to actually want to hang out with us or whatever. It's like, in a reciprocal relationship, there's going to be both give and take. And sometimes there's going to be more give than take in certain circumstances, especially if a friend's going through a really hard time. But, also if a friend's going through a really hard time for a very extended amount of time where it's draining you, that's when you have to still set boundaries and be like, hey, I still love you or whatever, and I can't show up for you in the same kind of way. And I was just telling someone about this the other day because I've had a few suicidal friends in my life, especially in the last couple years. And I feel, especially as like a spiritual person, and I identify as a healer, I felt a lot of pressure to show up for this person and try to heal them and try to show them the light in ways that, they really couldn't see at the time. And I did have to recently set a really big boundary with one of those friends, just saying like, I can't give you the will to live, actually. Like, I can't actually do that. I'm here trying to play God or whatever, but that's my ego also getting in the way. And yes, I want to show up for you. And I've already given you everything I can and more than I actually can give at this time. And I've realized that, and now I need to pull back. And I don't want you to feel like I don't care. And I don't want you to feel like you shouldn't have a will to live or anything. Of course not. And also, that can't be on my shoulders. That's not up to me to decide, if someone wants to live or not. So, that's a really extreme example of this, but just know that sometimes you really do have to put yourself first, and it's really not selfish. It's just you have finite energy, and you can't be drained by people who aren't helping themselves as well, So, alrighty. Ooh, we have 2 cards coming out. Sure, why not? We'll take them. I usually don't, but today is special. Why not? A little bonus card. Okay, we've got the Prince of Swords, which is really interesting. This card kind of looks like Pentacles to me. Prince of Swords. Okay, there we go. And then we also have the Queen of Swords. Oh, she's Gorgina. She does have her boobies out, which unfortunately YouTube doesn't like. So I'm just going to kind of censor that for us. But that's what she looks like. She's very beautiful. It's a cartoon as well. I don't know if they have, I actually don't know a lot about their rules and regulations. So I don't know if I'm supposed to cover that up or what, but I just don't want to risk it. So whatever. When we're talking about swords, that's literally everything we're talking about with Gemini, which is all about the mind, communication, it's exploring, it's conversations, all these kinds of things. And with relationships being the, main chakra, energy that we're feeling right now, and then in tandem with the communication element and thinking about things, it's really just doubling down on that energy of Are we having those hard conversations that we need to have sometimes? Are we being honest? Because also sometimes when we're not completely honest, like I also wasn't completely honest with that friend, because the suicidal friend I was telling you about, because I was really afraid of like, oh, if I say something, are they going to do something that I can't live with, you know? And it did build resentment because I felt like I couldn't actually say my truth because I was so afraid. But eventually, you know, it does build resentment, and it doesn't make for a healthy relationship. So I do see this lunation as a time of having harder conversations with people to keep healthier connections. And sometimes not all connections will last forever, but it will make us stronger to still have those conversations in order to elevate ourselves. And I'm getting so burpy. Let me get some tea really quick. I have had a little bit of like congestion and not a sticky throat, but a little bit of soreness in my throat. I don't know what's going on, but it's just the last couple days. I really feel mostly fine, but I do feel a little bit like, my body is getting rid of stuff. But I will say I do. Oh, and here's Frank. Okay, Frank will come into the shot hopefully soon. But I do sometimes like when I'm sick. I don't get sick that often, which is a privilege, and I'm very grateful for that. But when I do, what keeps me positive about it is that I'm grateful that my body has a reaction that is getting rid of what needs to go, and it's building its immune system, and it's doing what it needs to do in order to protect myself and the system within myself. So, hi Frank, you want to say hi to everyone? Frank, she's so beauty, she's so grace. All right. Thank you for hanging out with us. So anyway, with all that talk about like sickness and stuff too, like I know sometimes I'm putting in some personal stuff here, but it's sprinkled in there. There's a reason Spirit tells me that it's okay to say these things, because, you know, maybe now's the time too to know that sometimes we have to go through some unpleasant things in order to keep ourselves healthy. So that could be these harder relationships. It could literally be that you might be sick too. I don't know. But just know that that's your body trying to do its best to heal itself. And it's also a time to really be grateful. You know, when you have a scratchy throat or something, like all you can think about, especially every time you swallow or whatever, it's like, oh, I'm so grateful for all those times that I've swallowed that I didn't experience this pain or this, whatever it is. So I do see an element of gratitude in any hardship that you might be experiencing during this lunation. And I really don't see it as being a hardship without rewards, because I do see a prince and a queen. Especially when I see a queen, this is a person of influence. And so just remember that in order to, and I just like showed her, I was just talking about her breasts. No, I wasn't going to show them, but I guess I showed them anyway. I don't feel like it's nudity. It shouldn't be. If males can show their anatomy in that way, I feel like females should as well, but that's a whole nother conversation. Equality, let's do it. Come on, let's rally, y'all. Anyway, also, did you know that men also, or males, I guess I should say, back in the day, at least in the US, they were also not allowed to show their nipples. But in the 1920s, they passed a law or whatever saying that it was okay, but women still no. So it's like, darn, dang, here a whole century later, and we're still in this realm of that. Anyway, why am I talking about that? This is the Gemini energy where it's like la li la li la. Anyway, I really actually love it. It's really playful and fun. I hope you all are enjoying it as well. So anyway, I do see this as a moment of like overcoming some sort of challenge and having those harder conversations, because, you know, as a person of influence with that queen energy and the prince is also someone of influence. I do see you as like having these harder conversations in order to gain respect, in order to continue that higher elevation of leadership as well. So know that you don't have to be like a CEO in order to be a leader. You know, you're a leader every day. Like if you're a parent, like you're a leader in the household. You show up with your friends. You can be a leader in your friendships by speaking up when something needs to be said, you know? So this is really the biggest message that's coming through for this collective reading is don't be afraid to speak up. You should be afraid of not speaking up. That's what Spirit just said. I was like, okay. So it's better to say something imperfectly than not at all. I think I've probably said that a few times, but, you know, in the past at least. It's one of my favorite sayings right now. So anyway, One last thing for this collective reading. We have here what's called a pile of Bren cards. And as you remember, my name's Bren. These are my cards. These are cards that I curate and make myself, or I collect, and from all different places. And this is going to give us a message of good luck, okay? So we're going to just pick one randomly and see what our good luck message is. And there's this beautiful bird. If someone watching knows what kind of bird this is, please leave a comment, because I'm still learning about different kinds of birds. I actually used to hate birds because I don't know why, actually. But I think I really hated especially like birds in a cage. Like I would have friends or people in my life who would have birds as pets, and it would really trigger me, because it's like, why would you do that? It feels really wrong to me, and I'm not being a hater to people who own birds. I actually have a really lovely friend who does have a couple birds that he rescued, and so I feel like there's some nuance to pet ownership for sure when it comes to birds. But generally it's like, why birds? Like, why would you cage something that's meant to fly? That's like so crazy to me. But when I started learning more about bird symbolism, I started to really appreciate birds more and love them more, because birds symbolize freedom. They're beings that can, yes, be on the ground, but they also can fly, and they can go anywhere they really want, truly. So I feel like our good luck message is to remember to liberate ourselves, and to remember that we can fly. Just because we can be comfortable standing on ground, we are meant to fly. That's what a bird's meant to do. So I also, in this card itself, it has a border, and bordered cards remind me of boundaries. So, this is, and birds being like an air element of communication, like we've been talking about, there's liberation through setting boundaries and just telling people what you do and don't like. I had to have a hard conversation with my friends, telling them that I was uncomfortable about something, and that makes me feel insecure, because it's like, well, I don't want to rock the boat, and I don't want them feeling bad, and I don't want them to not like me because I have an issue or whatever. Poor Frank had to leave. Baby, come back. Anyway, it's okay. She's setting her boundary. She's like, I'm done with this. Bye. It's like, well, I'm sad about it, but I still love her, and it doesn't change the way I feel about her. So that's our good luck, remembering that. All right, my friends. Well, thank you so much for watching this collective reading. Now we're going to get into the choose a pile portion of this reading. So we're going to have two different piles. We're still going to be, I've kind of been switching up like the way that I do this a little bit. So if you've been here before, if you watch other videos, be open to some change, because why not? So let me just get those together. So we're going to just choose by crystals, because before I was like, well, choose one pile, choose the other, or choose one deck versus the other deck. But I really like using two decks together. I like using a tarot deck as like a foundational point in messaging, and then I like to use an oracle deck to clarify. So not that you really needed to know all that, but why not? There's just extra information. It doesn't hurt. But anyway. Excuse me. So pile number ones. You're going to be a pile number one if you choose this beautiful red Jasper crystal. It is a heart red Jasper. And I love this one because it has this little like yellow mark in it that looks like a kiss. So here's a heart for pile number ones, and you'll be a pile number two if you want to choose this orange calcite. Orange calcite. Alrighty, my friends. So without further ado, we're going to start with pile number ones. You're a pile number one if you chose this red heart Jasper with a little kiss in it. And this crystal I've used in readings before. I really have an emotional connection to this crystal. I don't really know why. I went to a store one time, and like a metaphysical shop, and I saw this crystal, and I'm not really someone who usually buys crystals like these days anymore, because I already have enough. But this was something I bought this year, and I just saw it, and I was like, there was something about it that was like, that's special. That's really special. So I feel like the message coming through for this group number one is that you are really special. You are like this crystal. And the interesting thing is, the guy at checkout was like, it's so interesting you picked that crystal, because I really wanted that crystal, and I was waiting to see if it would be purchased in a certain amount of time. And I guess it was, so it wasn't meant for me, but it was meant for you. You know, that's what he said to me. And so I feel like that's something to remember, is that you are special, and maybe more than to one person, but you know, sometimes some people will see your value even more and know that you are for them. And maybe this is also you knowing, like, if something's really meant for you, you'll know. And so I feel like this is really also like with the heart. It's like the heart always knows the truth. So don't be afraid to listen to it. And the best way to listen to it, because a lot of people ask me like, well, you say to listen to your heart. Like, that's like, it's honestly really annoying advice. I personally think, because it's like, well, how do you even do that? What does that even mean? And the way we do that is literally by checking in, touching our heart and listening and feeling. And, you know, the heart doesn't speak in words. Sometimes I guess it can, but most of the time it's through feelings or through impulses. So I do feel like now's a great time for this group to really check in with their heart, and maybe even go to a doctor, make sure your heart health is good. That could just be a message for one person, but that does seem important. Maybe get your health checked. Just make sure you get your checkups. You should be getting a checkup once a year. And I know, at least if you're an American, that can be harder for some people because of insurance, all that kind of thing. But try your best to make sure you take care of your health, because ultimately that's our number one concern in this lifetime. Like, if our health's not good, then nothing's good, you know? So just take care of yourself. Additionally, it is such a red crystal, and red is all about that root chakra, which is about our, you know, how we get our needs met, our food, our shelter, all these things. So it seems like, well, there's a few messages coming through. One is like, get in nature as well and really listen. Again, not with the ears, but it can be with the ears, but like, it's not going to be like the universe is talking to you like I'm talking to you. It's talking to you in symbols. It's talking to you in coincidences or synchronicities. So don't ignore what Spirit's trying to tell you, especially when it comes to that root chakra stuff, which is your survival, basically, your food, shelter, and what keeps you alive. Okay. So we're going to move on now to getting some cards drawn here. We've got our tarot card, and oh yeah, I'm doing this one differently. I forget. Okay. Well, we're going to start with the tarot card, and it's the Princess of Wands. The Princess of Wands, which is fiery. Princess is more feminine energy, and I love that this one has like a tiger on it. It's like very powerful. I feel like this is you evolving and seeking or reaching higher heights. And it's like, you know, heat rises. That's what I'm feeling. It's like, yeah, you might be cooking something down here, but it's bigger than that. And I feel like the saying, as above, so below, is coming through, which means like whatever's happening in our immediate environment is also happening in the skies and vice versa. So, and it also could be like whatever's happening in the mind and in the body is what's happening outside of you. So if you're cooking up something, especially in the earth realm, so you've been working really hard for something, and then you're not really seeing the results that you want necessarily, just know that it takes time for Spirit to catch up with the earth realm. So just know that whatever you're cooking up is making a tasty meal for yourself. And you're building the strength and endurance in order to handle the blessings that are coming your way and the rewards of your hard work. Because, like, I'll tell you a personal anecdote. As a kid, I always wanted to be famous. And I think there's a part of me that still really craves that for some reason. And what I realized in my adulthood is that I don't think I really claim, or I don't really want fame in the sense of like a Justin Bieber, where paparazzi is following me around, everyone like a household name in that kind of sense, because that actually feels like a prison, and that feels really scary, and that actually feels like not good at all. Where was I going with this? Yeah, where was I? Spirit, where were we going with this? Oh, because like if I was a kid and I I wanted this dream and I actually got it, maybe I got like a Disney Channel role or something and I was famous. I don't think I could have handled that. I am such a sensitive person, and also it's taken me, and it's still taken it, I'm still growing and learning a lot about like setting boundaries and knowing my worth and all these things. And if I was in an industry where people were talking to me all the time and always sharing their opinions about me, all that kind of stuff, I don't know how I could deal with that. That seems like a lot. So I do see the strength card in this as well, just because there's this like beautiful big cat. So I'm just feeling like you're doing your reps. You are getting stronger. And just because you're not ready for the Olympics or whatever your goal is, doesn't mean that it's, first of all, not coming. But second of all, maybe it's just getting you to the point where you actually can handle it. So then you don't go to your Olympics and just fail or like hurt yourself or something, you know? I love that the Olympics came up too, because there's literally like this fire, which like reminds me of like the Olympics fire. And it looks like it's burning roses as well. This is like a really cool card. Really empowering, and like also taking up space and like really getting clear with what you actually want. Because remember, this is all about the full moon in Sagittarius, and the mantra is look at the bigger picture. So this is like, look at the bigger picture of your entire life and where you're at in it right now. Like, you know, instead of getting all caught up in the day-to-day nitty-gritty of everything, this is like, look at what you've created. Look what you've like become of yourself. And maybe you've not had all the best circumstances, but look what you've created regardless. So I do see this as a very nourishing card in the sense of keep it up. You're building something. The heat is rising. It's just, we're cooking something up here, and it's either ready or it will be ready when the time's right. So I do see a very optimistic energy with this card. Like what you're working towards, what you're cooking up is elevating you. And again, sometimes it's the nitty gritty of like having to do things you don't like, but that's what gives you what you need, you know? So I am going to shuffle these chakra cards, because I feel like now that I know that they're shuffled, I might be biased, and I just want to make sure that whatever chakra comes up is not biased, because I've been feeling a lot of fiery energy. Obviously, it's a Sagittarius full moon, and Sagittarius is like the wildfire. It's like big fire, as opposed to like Leo and Aries. You know, it's big, it's expansive, you know, so it can feel like a lot. All right. This is the card for us. And it's the third eye chakra, actually. And it's just saying third eye. And there's actually a hidden card behind it. Seeing. Okay. Third eye chakra, 36, if that number means anything to you. You could be 36 years old, or something when you were 36 could be significant, or 3 + 6 is 9. So maybe you're also coming to the end of some sort of journey with this. I actually really like that one. That one felt good to me. Like, you're like, a 9 is close. It's the last number basically before a 10, which is basically a 1, because 1 + 0 is when we reduce numbers. There's really only numbers 1 through 9 in numerology in the grand scheme of things. So in the grand scheme, don't debate me on that. I'm like, don't fight me with this, because everyone has different beliefs. I know this. We're just going off of, anyway. I'm like picking a battle that no one's even picking with me right now. Or am I making an assumption? Anyway, that's not the point. Seeing. This card has a big eye on it. It's illuminated. It looks like it's illuminating something in nature. And it says perspective, truth, knowledge, and clarity. And there's a bird actually flying in the horizon in the distance in this card as well. So third eye chakra, it's right in the middle of your forehead, right? And this is not, you're not seeing, again, with your eyes. This is the sight that we have just within the mind's eye, right? It's like these downloads or insights when we know, we just know. So I do see this lunation offering you, especially like you being this Princess of Wands, like that's so light. There's fire there. Fire gives us the opportunity to see things. It's like, okay, when the fire's on, we can see what's around us. When the sun is out, it's a ball of fire. We can see what's going on outside. So I do see some sort of illumination coming for this group specifically about what your truth is, what your path really is, what your legacy is. What are you here to do? Are you aligned with that right now? Are you shifting that? Like, that's a truth that seems like it's coming to to you right now. Also, knowledge is something that's really sparking my interest with this, because I feel like you're also someone, oh, excuse me. You're in a position right now of really also learning new things in different ways. Like you don't need to go to college to get an education, like, or to gain knowledge. You gain knowledge through mentors, through, you could take a course, sure, but what Spirit's saying is that knowledge is accessible to you. It doesn't have to be like, you don't need to be certified in something in order to share knowledge or have it. So yes, that amplifies it in a certain kind of way, then that might give you the confidence to talk about these things with more, knowingness, I guess, just because it's like, cool, I literally did go to school for 4 years and I have a degree. I have proof of like my efforts and things like that. But also, that's not necessarily always necessary for you to be a smart person. Like, you don't need a GED to be smart. Like, that's something that this society tells you, that you need a high school diploma or something in order to legitimize yourself, which there's some truth to that in a way, but also there's a bunch of really smart people who never finished college or never went there. Don't put your value of self with certain institutions that you don't need. I have a psych degree, I'll tell you that right now, and I did learn a lot from that, and obviously I'm grateful for that. And also, with what I do, is it necessary to have that degree? No. So just know that, like, stuff, and you don't need necessarily other people or institutions telling you that you know stuff in order for you to claim your knowledge, okay? You're seeing things. You don't always need to have tangible proof in order to know the vision. Like, I'm seeing you as a visionary right now too, and like creating your future through where you are right now. Hi, Frank. Frank is just here chilling. All right, my group number ones. We're going to now pick a Bren card. We'll see what good luck message awaits you, my friends. And we have this beautiful bouquet of flowers. They're red, very red in nature. Your tarot card was red. Your crystal was red. So maybe, again, tapping into that red color. Maybe you wear more red, or just really research more about the root chakra. That might be really helpful for you. But I see you in full bloom. That's really nice. I feel like Spirit's really trying to tell you that, you are blooming right here and right now. And yes, this was kind of like a future oriented card in a way, like, but it's also a little bit of both. It's like the past, the present, and the future, and they all are working together. And so I do see this as a reminder to you that you're always blooming in some kind of way. Even in the hardships, you're blooming in, connections with others, or there's always some sort of, you can't have light without the dark. So every light thing will have some darkness in it, and every dark thing will have some lightness in it. So just remember that relationship between light and dark is life. Period. I also am seeing boundaries here with you as well. There's like that gold boundary of this card, and let me get some more hydration here because I'm getting a little sniffly here. Thank you for your patience with that. Okay, but that gold border, I love gold because it really symbolizes to me like shining brightly. It's associated with the sun. Like, hello, I'm here. So I feel like you knowing your worth, that is your good luck. Like, you're protected. You have this beautiful blooming, and you have this protection around you. The number and the suit of this card is the 2 of diamonds. And the 2 of diamonds, I usually associate cards with tarot. So this would be the 2 of pentacles or the 2 of coins. And this is like a juggling act. And when I see this card come up, it can be decision making. So I feel like your good luck is also really getting clear on what's a priority and what's not. What's your priority as well versus someone else's, because maybe your grandma gave you a family heirloom that you just really don't like. And it's like, dang, I feel obligated to keep this thing because she gave it to me, but also it's taking up space in my house. I don't have room for it, whatever. You know, maybe you get rid of it. Maybe you absolve yourself of that burden, or maybe give it to a sibling or something. I don't know. But, you know, I do see you as being like prioritizing what I need rather than what I feel obligated to do. That's going to be your good luck. Okay. Pile number ones. All right. Don't do things out of obligation. You are this beautiful flower. Keep your boundaries, and it's okay to say no to people. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, pile number ones. Thank you for joining me. Please, if you like this video, like, share, and subscribe. I want to make sure that all the people who need to receive these messages do receive them. And if you have any questions or anything, you're welcome to leave a comment. I love to engage with y'all, so please do that. And if you want to get a personal reading from me, you totally can. If you want to get more like direct insights, we can get really specific. I also have mediumship abilities, so if you need to get messages from people beyond, I am capable of that. I would be more than happy to help you facilitate that connection and communication. You can book with me in person if you're here in Denver, Colorado, or you can book with me online if you're not, and you can find ways to book me on fortuneofthefool.com. So thanks, y'all. See you soon. Stay foolish. Alrighty. And without further ado, we're going to go on to pile number twos. Hello, pile number twos. You are a pile number two if you picked this orange calcite crystal. And this is one of my favorite crystals because it was one of my first. I dated this lovely lady back in 2020, 2021. Gosh, time, what? Makes no sense. No, 2019, 2020. Anyway, does it matter? Anyway, and this was before, like, I was like getting into like spirituality. I was into metaphysical stuff, but I hadn't fully like developed, like I didn't really understand crystals or anything like that. And so she took me to a shop and she taught me, she like showed me a bunch of different crystals and she taught me like what they meant, and it was really beautiful. And so this was one of my first ones. This was the biggest one that I got, I feel like, in that little time period. And so this one's like one of my favorites because it's just a good hunk of crystal, and it's also it's not polished. Well, it's not smooth, but it's not rough. It is polished, I would say. So it's like it's kind of got that nice in between, like, you know, pile number one's crystal is this heart. This is very polished energy. And I like how this one is rough, but it's also not like totally untreated energy, you know? So for you all, like I am feeling obviously like that sacral chakra, it's orange, but I'm also seeing, it looks like, first of all, I want to eat it. It just looks so tasty. But it also looks like the solar plexus chakra, which is all about like your identity and taking up space and your willpower as well. So I feel like what Spirit really wants to tell this group, if you're drawn to this crystal, is remember your power. Remember that what you want wants you. And so don't deny yourself of what you desire because you're fearful of being judged or fearful of, you know, as long as it's not hurting people, what you want wants you. And it's probably going to be of service to other people as well. So don't be afraid to go for what you want because it wants you. And it could actually be really helpful for other people as well. So don't deny yourself. I guess the message really is don't reject yourself before other people have a chance to. So if you want that job, you're not qualified or whatever for it, why don't you ask anyway? You never know. Maybe you're going to be a personality hire, you know? So just take a chance, I feel like. I feel like especially with this Sagittarius full moon, it's a luckier full moon. In my, again, it depends, obviously, what it even is luck, because sometimes blessings are in disguise. So something negative could happen or something you perceive as negative could happen, but really it actually sets up beautiful things for you down the line. Like I remember one of my first breakups, I was like, wow, this is literally the worst thing to ever happen to me. I'm so miserable, yada, yada. But after time, I was like, that relationship was not for me. That relationship was actually predatory, not good. So, you know, it was actually a blessing in disguise that happened, you know, and it was, you know, hard in a lot of ways, but I'm grateful for it. And now I know that sometimes the hardest things that happen to us actually can be the best. Like I remember I've experienced a lot of death in my life so far, and I'm sure I will continue to. But, you know, when people die, or when a lot of people die at the, like around the same time period, it's really devastating. And I remember like, this was 2022. I had lost a bunch of people in my life died. I lost a bunch of friends because I was mourning, and like there was like a work thing. I was like I felt very alone, and I had just come out as trans as well that year, and I felt some family support, but I also was no contact with some of my family because it was hard. And so I remember being at like my darkest moment and being so miserable and so sad and so alone. And that actually was one of the biggest catalysts to push me into this field and this realm of spirituality and things like that. Because sometimes when all you have is spirit, sometimes when you have nothing, all you have is spirit. And so it's like, all right, well, gotta go with that. So anyway, I did pick some cards for you. The tarot card that you have is the 5 of Swords, and the key word that it says here is defeat. Okay. And I want to actually pull this chakra card, and it's the base chakra, which is the root chakra, number 1. Okay. So, defeat. I don't want you to get scared. Don't get scared. There's always an empowering message that comes through for these readings. So I know it says defeat, but you know, that's not always a bad thing. Especially like what I was just saying, like I felt defeated when I had to go through this breakup, but also through that breakup, I found victory on the other side. So whenever I see 5s, I see it as a challenge. I see it as your midterms, actually. It's like, okay, you've been building from 0, because the numbering system in tarot goes from 1 to 10, right? So if this is 5 is that middle point between 1 and 10. And so this is the reminder of like, okay, you've been making progress 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5, but now this is the shakeup point where we can either break a cycle, we can either break through to the 6 and keep going on the journey, or we have to go back to square one. It's kind of like a video game where, you know, you only have a certain amount of lives, and once you use up all those lives, you have to start back at the beginning. So those checkpoints, you know, this is your checkpoint, right? And so with this defeat, and also it being swords, that's about, again, air. Communication is your number 1 thing. Seems like you're being challenged right now to communicate something that might be challenging. You might feel defeated, you know, and or anxious, or maybe just like you're building up narratives within yourself to build up this conversation bigger than it is. It's so funny how my life experiences like can be reflected through like what I share to other people. And that's why I feel like sometimes I go through these experiences so I can share and I can relate to other people. But I had a conversation with someone recently who I had to basically set some boundaries with pay with, and I felt like I just couldn't accept jobs that paid a certain amount anymore. And I would be willing to continue working for this person, but I had to rate, like my rates had to be a certain amount if I was going to accept a gig with them. And the conversation I had with the owner of this business was really hard. I felt like, you know, I feel like that person was also really triggered by what I was talking about. And I had to really stay detached as much as possible and really support and listen, while also setting boundaries and being like, this is my truth. I know your truth sounds differently, and like maybe, you know, this person was also very defensive, and so it's really hard when you're dealing with a defensive person because it's very emotionally draining, first and foremost, like to hold yourself and your own composure, because when someone else is defensive, it can be really easy to meet them at that level and be like, well, yeah, but whatever, you know. And so I was really challenged in that conversation to not get triggered myself, just because that person was triggered and this conversation's hard and I have to say things that person's not going to like. It's still necessary, to be honest. So, and I think that conversation overall went really great. Yes, it gave me anxiety. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was draining, but also that truth I feel like was beneficial for both of us in our growth. Like, I heard what she was saying and I understood why things were the way they were from her perspective. And also I shared with her why me and some other coworkers were struggling with this pay structure and things like that. And, you know, money is something that's also really hard to talk about. And that the reason I'm talking about money is because we're the base chakra came up, which is all about our security and our survival. And oftentimes in this society, money equals our survival. So if we don't have money to pay for our shelter, if we don't have money to pay for our food, it's really harder to get access to those resources. So I'm feeling like this group might have to have some hard conversations, maybe about money or just about like your livelihood survival things. So it could also be work stuff. It could be your home environment. Maybe it's a roommate who needs to split more of the bills or whatever. I don't know what your situation is, but you know, your security is the number one. Like, this is the number one card of this deck. The base chakra, the root chakra. Like, nothing else can come unless we are alive and we're surviving, you know? So I do see like this moment of like addressing that some hard conversations might need to be have about your survival. You might need to ask someone to borrow money. You might have to, I don't know what it is that you might need to do, but you might have to do something that you don't like. But what I'm seeing with this Five of Swords is it's really about you breaking a cycle, and whatever you've communicated in the past or how you've communicated in the past, it's being challenged right now to really evolve. You know, if you always ask, or maybe you're doing the opposite. Instead of always asking mommy and daddy for money, maybe this time you just get a loan, because it's like, I'm an adult now and I can't be continuing to drain my parents' resources for myself, you know, or, you know, whatever it is. It just seems like you need to choose a different direction than you have in the past, because those past patterns, they're just going to keep repeating unless you break the cycle. So this is your opportunity to break that cycle, especially with communication and things like that, so you can liberate yourself from this cycle and be more secure in your survival, okay? Whether that's asking for help or not, you know, I don't know. It's up to you. Because some people, they ask for too much help and they drain other people's resources, and then they lose relationships, which are the most important thing of this reading overall, remember, from our collective reading. So, all right. I feel like that's the biggest thing that Spirit wants to share with that. Just use this lunation to your benefit. Like, yeah, hard conversations are hard, but that's what gives us, that's us doing our reps, so we're prepared to take on more and receive more blessings and things like that. You know, you can't be a business owner unless, or you can't even put yourself, you know, if you want to be something, if you want to be, you know, if you put yourself out there, there's going to be people who don't like you. There's going to be, you know, controversy of some kind, unless you're just such a people pleaser that you have no personality, you know, which I don't think that's this group. I feel like you are a unique person. You have things to offer, and us butting heads with people is what helps us grow. And just because we butt heads with someone doesn't mean that the relationship's over. It doesn't mean that things are bad. I mean, sometimes it will end a relationship, but that's your clarity that you needed, that relationship is done now. That's okay. It's okay to release some things, because that will make room for more aligned things. Okay. And also, sometimes it's not even about that. Like, all those hard conversations I've had 3 really hard conversations in the past week, and all 3 of those relationships I feel like are stronger for it. Like, we're not on bad terms. We're good, you know? So the last thing I want to do with this group is pick a good luck card from the Bren card pile. So we'll see what the good luck coming for this group is. And it's a do or drink card. It says, drink if you have an iPhone. And this is the card. It's orange. And so I feel like orange, honestly, all these fiery energies for this group with the base chakra, that root chakra, reds and oranges. Maybe you wearing orange could be good luck also, just to remind you that, like, hey, I'm creating the life I desire. And if I want to have more respect, I have to show up and demand it, and also communicate that. It says drink if you have an iPhone. This do or drink, I'm sober from alcohol. I have been for years. And so, oh, and it's raining. Water, cleansing. So there's liquids that can be helpful and there's liquids that can be poisons, right? And some poisons, like drinking, people like to engage in. And for some people, it can be healthy to do that. And some people, it's not. Just know, period, alcohol is a poison. It's a carcinogen. It's the #1 carcinogen, actually. And so it is cancer causing. So just know, if you engage in alcohol, that is literally you poisoning your body. Even if it's casual, even if it's like, you know, you're being responsible, quote unquote, it is still poison. So I do think that your good luck is to recognize like what in my life is actually nourishing me versus what's not. And because it's talking about an iPhone, this is technology. This is like our phones and things like that. And it's so interesting because like I have been battling with like getting rid of a bunch of, like, I'm a quitter. I love to quit things. Well, because I need to, like, quit drinking, quit, you know, I've quit harder drugs as well, you know. And so, you know, I feel like the phone or technology can also be that carcinogen for us. It can be like I have a lot of guilt with like my phone usage because like I'm like, this is so bad for my eyes. Like I'm straining my eyes. Like, am I going to be able to see in 30 years? You know, and I already don't have the greatest eyesight, you know, and you know, also what am I consuming? Like when I'm scrolling, what am I actually consuming? Is this actually helping me? Is this, you know, adding to my life, or is it not? And so I feel like the good luck message that's coming here is really just remembering that like, it's okay to engage with your phone specifically, or it's okay to engage in substances or whatever in certain ways, but also remember what it truly is doing to you and what it's like. You have, just remember that you have the power to create. That's really your goodest of luck. It's like you're creating the reality that you're living in, and what you don't change, you choose. So just know, if there's something in your life that you don't like and you're not working towards changing that, that can be poisonous. Okay, I know that's actually been the first good luck message that kind of came out negative almost. But I think the biggest thing is reminding you of your power. You have the ultimate power over your life. Okay, and so don't surrender it to technology. Don't surrender it to your vices. Don't surrender it to poisons, whatever the poison is to you, because a poison to you could be different from my poison, right? So take care, my friends. Okay, it'll all be good. I'm wishing you the best with like you breaking this cycle, and just trust that you getting your needs met is the most important thing, and it's not selfish to prioritize that. Okay. Thank you so much, pile number 2s, for joining me today. If you liked this video, please be sure to like, share, subscribe. Definitely share it with a friend if you think they would benefit from these messages. And if you would like a personal reading with me, I would be happy to give that to you. We can dive into your birth chart. We can do some mediumship. We could do some psychic tarot energies, but it does get more specific if you have a one-on-one with me. This is a collective reading, so it will be more general, but if you want more specific advice and things like that, you're welcome to book a reading with me, either in person here if you are in Denver, or online if you're not. So if you want to book with me, check out fortuneofthefool.com, and there's more info in the show notes if you'd like to book with me. So thank you so much, my friends, and stay foolish.